of that much talked about immigration law, which would let state and local law enforcement detain and deport illegal immigrants. The bill would also make illegal immigration a state crime and could put offenders behind bars for anywhere from between 6 months to 20 years. It would also empower local judges to order migrants out of the country.
Thaddeus Cleveland is the sheriff of Terrell County, Texas, and a retired Border Patrol agent who joins us now. Sheriff, good morning to you. You're the perfect person to talk to about this because you are a retired Border Patrol agent, now a border sheriff. This law is not in effect right now, but if the judges do give it a green light, how much of an impact would this have on the border situation?
Hey, good morning. Thank you for having me back. And first, I just want to start off by saying, yesterday I had Michael Banks, the Texas border czar, down here with me, in our border area to go look at some of our roads and infrastructure. And we talked about SB4, and both are optimistic about it getting a green light. But I'll tell you, if sheriffs and local law enforcement choose to utilize it, it can definitely help, secure our border, assist U.S. Border Patrol in manners where typically we turn those that we apprehend over to Border Patrol. But if we can start utilizing SB4 and returning people to Mexico ourselves, that will lighten the load on our U.S. Border Patrol agents.
I mean, look, I think the choice is clear. Texas wants to protect itself from an invasion. Joe Biden and his administration seemingly want to prevent Texas from doing that very thing. So our own Peter Doocy grilled the White House yesterday on the national security concerns from that decision by Joe Biden's White House. Listen.
As the person in charge of preventing a terrorist attack in the homeland, does President Biden think that some of these border crossers could be in the United States right now plotting a terrorist attack?
The president's confident that throughout the interagency, DHS, intelligence community, that we're doing everything we can to be as vigilant as we can to ensure the safety and security of the American people here at home.
It's that same line over and over again. There's no substance to it. The president wants things to go well, and he's doing his best he's not doing his best. He's letting everybody in the country that wants to come in. And if the president's #1 job is to protect the homeland, how is that very act, not vetting people, allowing national security threats to come in, anything short of an impeachable offense, Sheriff?
And that statement that was just shown is completely untruthful. Look, the administration, the Department of Homeland Security is not doing what they need to be doing or what they should be doing. Our borders are porous, not just for those crossing illegally between the ports of entry, but also those seeking asylum that don't have a true claim to a political relief. But to get to your point, this administration, of course, the president's he's not even there. The people pulling the strings behind the scenes, behind the curtains. And then, of course, what Secretary Mayorkas is doing. It definitely impeachable, and it's a shame that it hasn't gone further up to the Senate at this point. I don't know what we're waiting for. Regardless, we've got 9 more months of waiting around to get somebody in the White House, and Americans need to get out and vote, I tell you.
Yeah, well, on the same day that John Kirby made that statement, Sheriff, we learned about this al-Shabaab terrorist who entered the country through Texas a year ago. He was stopped by Border Patrol. He went through the terrorist screening process, and they let him into the country. He was living here for about 10 months before he was arrested in Minnesota in January. And then you have John Kirby there saying that the president is essentially okay with the status quo. I mean, a lot of these people who could have ill intentions for Americans do come through Texas first. How concerned are you about the national security implications of all of this?
I don't think I can get any more concerned. When we've seen the millions of people crossing our border unchecked, most of them come from countries that don't have criminal databases like we do here in the United States. And if they do, countries such as Venezuela, China, they're not going to share that information with us. But right now, we're at unprecedented times. It's not a matter of when. It's going to be at some point. I tell you, I'm still shocked at what's going on.
That's absolutely terrifying. And you mentioned the former president who's running to become the president again. He went after Joe Biden for the border crisis during a campaign stop in Michigan, using the phrase, "I stand before you today to declare that Joe Biden's border bloodbath." We heard the soundbite going into the tease there. Your reaction to that statement, Joe Biden's border bloodbath?
Well, and I won't get too caught up around the rhetoric, but let's look at the crimes that have been committed. Let's look at the murders in the United States that have happened. Let's look at judges that have released those in El Paso that rushed the border, what's happened up in New York City with squatters, and then most importantly, the fentanyl deaths that continue to happen, that continue to increase over the last 3 years. Look, we could make a broader impact along our border if we would just put a stop to these asylum seekers, to allow Border Patrol agents and Customs and Border Protection officers to get back to their basic duties of protecting our border.
And the hearing on the legality of SB 4 will take place later today, and you say that you are optimistic that it will be allowed to go through. Sheriff Cleveland, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Sheriff.